Ped Rising, a name of a mod that many might not remember these days, but back in the day it was a very ambitious mod. Sometimes I do wonder what happened to the mod author. Oh yeah, it was that guy. Jokes aside, Freako way back then had a lot of passion, and while the modding is very dated and such these days, the design is still amazing for a project that one person did on their own. Maybe with a little help here and there, but still mostly on their own. So let's dive into one of the builds and take a look at what was done and completed. The overall design of the mall in Winnipeg is nearly a 1-to-1 scale of Willamette Parkview Mall from Dead Rising, which is obviously the main influence for this mod. The design of the rooftops and the overall mall itself looks amazing for a solo project, also back in February the 9th, 2008. And honestly, I love how the security room looks. Feels very DR1 based, but it isn't a 100% recreation and has a good bit of creative freedom done on it too. Also, I can see those little Easter eggs there, and one of the best movies ever made. Once you leave the security room, you are treated to a nice selection of weapons, some DR1 inspired, some that are more creative, and some that are still Vice City's weapons. But even then, the custom ones are pretty amazing. Gotta love that drinking animation done there. It's a very faithful and accurate recreation. With this being an old dev build, however, a lot of the map will have gaps and such in it. But again, even then, the world of Ped Rising is fun to explore and see what things came out of young Freako's mind at the time. Like, not many people would work on having a simple mirrored model to give the illusion of a reflective surface like here. It's more or less the same method Rockstar themselves used for the mall in Grand Theft Auto Vice City. Also, you can very much tell that this mod is made during the years Freako was super into Futurama, since his original name during the time of this mod was Futurama Freak. One of my favourite original creations in this map honestly has to be the cinema, and how Freako unironically predicted the Angry Video Game Nerd movie happening. But going back to the stores in this mod do flutter between creative and just a tad bit silly, but can appreciate the effort going into making each one unique in its own way, rather than it being a copy-paster of a lot of stuff. Now moving on to the vehicles. The vehicles are another great little thing about this mod. Some take creative liberties, some are inspired from other games, like this little chav security vehicle here being inspired from Saints Row. Though there aren't too many vehicles to find in this mod, which include a couple I haven't shown in the video, the vehicle range is pretty good for the time. Though if I had to guess, I imagine the original story would have you mostly on foot, just like the original Dead Rising games, but that's mostly a guess on my part. The town is honestly super big for what it is, and has a lot to explore in it. Plus, like Freako has said on his vids about Ped Rising before, a lot of the areas in the mod are inspired by games he has played. Like for example, the school is based on the school from Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 8, which is super neat to see as a near inspired recreation of it. While other areas are based on the places near his home, and even a house in the mod is based on that very home he used to live in. I can imagine that if the town had more done to it, and if the modding tools we had now were around back then, the mod would have been even bigger. But even now, exploring it as a dev build, the mod has a nice bit of history for both the person who made it and the creative talent way back then too. Honestly, I could go on for ages covering every inch of this build of the mod, but it's one of those things that's nice to explore for yourself and to see where the creativeness came from. If this mod back then would have been fully completed and released, I feel it would have been up there with many other amazing ambitious total conversion mods at the time. Its uniqueness and difference from other mods of the same time was something a lot of people could get on board with. I know I would have loved playing it way back then. But we know Freako didn't stop there with his creativity. He just seemed to grow more and more. This has led him to do many amazing things such as modding Uncharted and The Last of Us, to creating his own games in Dreams on the PS4. The creativity has never stopped, and I am eager to see what he gets up to in the future, so keep rocking Freako. So thanks for watching guys. It was fun to cover this mod, even if briefly. If you want to check out the build yourself, however, Freako has a vid up with the links on the free builds he was able to recover of the mod and release. It will be linked down in the description below. Also, if you don't follow the guy already, go give his YouTube a follow and follow him on Twitter too.